Welcome back to another episode of We Are the Ones podcast. This is the podcast where we have extraordinary conversations with extraordinary people doing extraordinary things, and I'm super excited. It's kind of bittersweet. It's kind of bittersweet.
I know, it's our last
It's
one.
our last episode for the season, I'll be honest.
For the season.
For the season. We had a good run. 10 episodes
we
in.
did.
Yeah,
and people really liked everybody that we had on. We still have a lot of people that we still
You have a favorite one so far?
How dare you? How dare you?
I got one.
You do?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you say yours first though.
But I don't know yet.
I think ours. I like ours.
Oh, you like ours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not to leave anybody else out. That's a safe one.
That's a safe one,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, that's a safe one.
Oh, that ain't really your favorite one, then. You know what I'm saying, boss man?
You know what?
You're trying to get me locked up.
I think today is going to be my favorite one. I think today is going to be my favorite one.
Why today?
We got some dope guests with us today.
As usual.
We have some super dope guests. But before we get into our introduction of the guests, everything's good with you? You looking fly per usual?
Thank you.
Okay.
My best friend bought this for me.
All right.
Young queen.
You know what I mean? Still got my crown.
You still got your Patrick braids.
This crown coming out soon, though, but I still got my crown for a minute.
Got the poetic justices going on. Okay.
That necklace too, guys.
Yeah, she got everything going on right now.
I'm too try by.
That's all right. Yeah, but you know what though? I this past week is when Twitch passed away.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that was
tough.
big
That was
dent
devastating. Yeah,
in the dance industry. So I just want to say, extending my love to the family and the friends. That was just devastating.
Sincere condolences to everyone who was affected by that this horrible tragedy with him passing away. He was such a light in this world.
He really was.
Right. And
he really was.
You got to check on your friends though.
You got to check on your strong ones too. Check on the ones that's always smiling.
Yeah. It's funny because I used to always ask myself, because I've always been that guy to be there for my friends, right? And like, who does the person who's always there go to when they need it?
Right.
So y'all make sure that y'all check on y'all folks.
Absolutely.
Condolences to Twitch and his family and Ellen and everyone who was affected by that tragedy. But
other than that, how was your week?
Man, week was good. I got first big DJ gig of the season.
Yeah, I heard it.
I'm gonna shout them out too. Because they paid me pretty good. So shout out to Fisher Price. I appreciate you for the love. So no, it was a good time. It was a Christmas event at one of the community centers here in Buffalo, and the kids had an amazing time. They had all types of games and obstacle courses and bounce houses and all that type of stuff.
Fisher Price came in strong.
Oh, they came super strong. Yeah, I know. So it was a nice little
nice little check. I know I'm getting a Christmas gift.
I know you're not. No, but other than that, everything is good. My little boy is amazing.
He stood up today in front of me.
You told me that, and I'm just like, if you didn't record it, it didn't happen.
That's fine.
He's gonna walk real soon. That's what that means. Just get ready.
I'm telling you, get them walking shoes on.
She told me that he stood up with like no help, like without grabbing on anything.
The legs.
You are in trouble.
Before he turns one, that boy is gonna be on his way.
Oh man,
dang, he got some strength in them legs.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He's walking a little bit now. Like earlier, I think it was either this morning or last night. My wife and I were in the room, and he was just like grabbing on something, and he was just walking on his on the crib. I was just like, oh my God. Jesus Christ, this is happening way too fast.
You had to get inside the crib to eat your food, to stay away. He got inside his crib.
I did.
Inside, yes.
And I will do it again. I was trying to eat my sushi, and I was trying to eat it in peace, and he's grabbing at everything now. You know what I mean? He's trying to put it in his mouth, tossing it, and I'm just like, bro, if you grab my sushi, and toss my sushi, I'm tossing you.
I still go hide to eat food.
And I can't, my wife was home at the time, so I couldn't toss him, So I was like, you know what? I had his little playpen. I got his playpen. I zipped that joint right up.
Yes.
And I was like, and I was cool. And he was grabbing on it, trying to get in, like, trying to get in. I'm like, nope, just eating right in my little chopsticks. And it was good too. Ate every bit of it. Yep.
Love it.
Trying so hard to get in.
He was trying so hard to get up in there. But nah, that's my guy, man. So shout out to my boy Cy and of course my lady.
Yes.
But
Sally
listen.
Mae. You ready?
Yeah, we got an amazing guest, man.
Let's end this joint.
This couple. I'm gonna let you do the introduction, Avi. But before you do,
Okay.
I love these guys, man. I love them together as a unit, as a couple, God fearing.
Absolutely.
You know, my man, he been through some stuff. But he has a story. He has an amazing story, and I'm looking forward to him telling part of his story today. But like I said, there's them as a unit. They're light. They're light in this world, in our community. So, but with that, I'll let you do the introductions.
So today we have the Dowells, or I like to say the Dowells. The Dowells in the house. We have DaMar and Carissa. They have been married for 15 years.
Sheesh.
Now you're probably looking at them
Goals.
like, okay, I'm thinking they like 30, 32. You know what I mean? And that's cool. Maybe 28, 29. How old are these people? But they've been married for 15, together for 16 years. They have 4 kids, 18, 13, 11, and 8.
Sheesh.
Yes.
Sheesh.
And praise God for the woman. She said she's done.
Yes.
Because the man said no.
Yeah,
She's trying to get me fixed. You want to be fixed? You have to go on your own. I think she would do it. She's like, all right.
Say less.
I got it.
Appointment was made. I'm like, you for real?
Shutting it down. She's shutting it down. But the amazing thing about this couple is that they got into the DEI space together.
Very important.
And I love that,
space,
especially because we always talk about, marriages, doing business together, and how, some people feel like they can't, but they did it and they do it well. They have contracts with Rich's Products. Dunkirk School District.
Can I hold something? That's why that haircut's so sharp, brother. That's what it is. He got the sharpest haircut. That's that rich people. That's that rich people haircut right there. You know, he got the line. That joint is perfectly straight back there. Yeah, perfectly straight. He still got waves and everything.
They also have a contract with Alcogen, yes. Okay. And then they did work with Green Pack as well in the DEI space. So I am excited about this. I'm excited for where the conversation is going to go. But as on our podcast, we always start with the backstory. So
did we say their names?
Yes, I did. I said DaMar and Carissa.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
After I said Dowells.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
gotcha. The Dowells, but the Dowells. Yes. So, DaMar, we will start with you. Wherever you want to start, let's just start with your backstory, where you grew up, your family dynamic, and things of that nature.
Yeah. Grew up Buffalo. East Side.
Come on.
Everybody been East Side.
East Side?
Yeah. Wait, what is that?
East Side?
We used to do that. Yeah,
backwards E.
Gibson and Bailey. So my dad had 7 boys. I was the youngest boy. And so my dad was a pimp, like straight up pimp, like
yeah.
Like a real pimp, not like the
millions,
pretend pimps.
Hawaii and like all that. He had women for different reasons. My mama she was still, and that was it. But so much so that when she got her LPN, she had a little case she ain't know about. She was like, "Oh, I gotta get this taken care of,"
Wow.
But that was so. I was his last, and then, but maybe a year or 2 after I was born, he overdosed and almost died on his deathbed. He cried out to God. I was like, "Yo, get me out of this. I'll live for you." And he did. So I never knew Pimp Daddy. I just knew Daddy. And he was there. They didn't live together, but he would always, like, he lived on Bailey, then he was on Minnesota, then he was on Hastings. I lived on Davidson. So he was always close.
Yeah.
Always picked me up, always in my life. And so he became a preacher. And, I saw that. I saw that example. But, growing up, I mean,
You gotta live your own life.
I will say, with our kids, we've taken a different approach to invite God into their entire journey, from the womb to the tomb. But just growing up with it, it didn't really click for me a lot. I was actually molested when I was 6 years old, and that really messed me up.
Did that open you up a little bit too?
Oh yeah,
that
door.
So it more so opened you up than, had you hesitate about that whole.
Right. I was molested by a girl though. So, back in the day, like, oh, you got you. But it wasn't like that. It was
6 years old.
I know.
That's crazy.
But,
Gosh.
it was traumatic in ways that I didn't understand. Opened me up to all type of just, stuff way too early. So, getting older, and I had a lot of anger inside of me, didn't know what to do with it. I tried to stay away from the street life, you know what I'm saying? Because it was right there, right across the street, house, they raided it, and, you know what I mean? Thousands in cash, AK-47s, like directly across, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I remember the first time I got a gun pulled on me, and I was terrified out of my mind. I'm like, nah, I'm going to get me one. So, you know what I mean?
Right.
So living that life. And then, but I played football, football, rapping, or, we changing that. Entrepreneurs now too.
Yes.
The typical hood starter pack over there.
But at the time, I love football. So I actually did pretty good, and then was able to go to college for football. But, I took the streets with me, and
To college too?
To college.
Okay.
Playing football. So I was.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to initially SUNY, Brockport.
Okay.
And so I was like hustling. I was robbing drug dealers. It was like, what they gonna do? Tell on me?
Man, come on.
Oh, you would put it. Okay.
Like it was this is a really smart idea.
It was a brilliant plan.
idea. What are you gonna do?
People.
Oh man, hilarious, foolish humans. But was just out here, and I got caught up, man, and it's a pretty deep story. But I was in the same position that my dad was in.
Yeah.
And I'm facing years and years, and felonies too. Like the felonies, man. That's just.
But tell the story a little bit.
Which part?
Why were you facing felonies?
Oh, okay.
Come on, why?
See, okay.
Trying to
A little bit of detail. I mean, that's important. It's really important. For people
that's
to
a fact. That's a fact. So our oldest daughter, Nevaeh, 18. Her mother, Robin. Shout out to Robin. We was high school sweethearts, and and then I went to college, and she got pregnant. But Rockport's pretty close to Buffalo. So when she got pregnant, I actually was like slowing my robbing, hustling, and all that down. I was like, I should be like, I was failing school. I'm like, I need to like get my life together. But then when she told me she was pregnant, I was like, I'm gonna do.
Gotta go back.
Streets was calling me.
Well, into that. Oh man, so I was like, let me just do one more little robbery.
It's always the one
Always
more.
the one.
Oh, man, right.
Rob one. I robbed him before, and he was still in the game, and I was like, he's a fool, so we gonna get him one more time. So, this is crazy. So, you say God-fearing who we are now, but at the time, it wasn't none of that. Like
No fear.
I thought I was untouchable. Like I was the one we got caught for. After that one, we was gonna rob a big drug dealer, and then we was just wilding. I was just wilding. I'm so glad I got caught for this one. So planning this, and right as I am putting the gun in the bag, I hear this voice. Voice says, "You are going to get caught."
Clear as day.
Bro, listen to me. I have no grit for this. Like, nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I was in church, but I was not really paying attention. You know what I mean? Like, no grit. None of what was happening ever affected me. Never. Like, before I was molested, it did. When I was like 5, I remember being run around the house, the family and the church and stuff. I loved it. But after that, it just did nothing affect me. Well, anyway, in this instance, I heard this voice say, "You are going to get caught for sure." I thought somebody was in the house.
That's how loud you heard.
That's how loud it was. Wow. I grabbed the gun. I was like, and I waited like 45 seconds, just waiting to hear if I heard footsteps. And it was nothing. So anyway, I got my boys outside. They had drove up from Buffalo. And I was like, man, I'm about to get this easy. That's the devil trying to stop me from getting this easy money.
Mm-hmm. That's the devil.
I thought so blind. Anyway, man, I get caught for sure. And I didn't know how it would happen. My dad told me the story of what happened with him later, how he was on his deathbed and he cried out to God. So, I mean, this is probably 2-3 days later after we got caught, you know.
But did you rob? Did you actually rob
we
the
went
guy?
we went to the robbery, the building. Mm-hmm. We were attempting to get in, but it was not the brilliantest plan. Again, we robbed him before, but somebody's living downstairs this time.
Okay.
They weren't there last time, so we didn't know that. So when we got there, they was like, we was like, oh, we booked out. Mm-hmm. So then they called us. Technically, that's a longer story, but if we could have got off scot-free, because they found us later, but you know, that's another story. But anyway, I was like, I need a lawyer. I ain't saying nothing. So I'm just sitting in the cell. But then them charges come. B felony, C felony.
Oh my God.
For the pit, because the gun was fully loaded.
Yeah.
And they had statements written all against you.
They
that
did.
It was your plan.
Your boys?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's why you got. That's why you can't be in the streets. The streets will turn against you. The streets will. The people that you think is loyal to you out here in these streets, they will turn against you.
Yeah, it was heavy. So now I'm sitting and I'm reading this and I'm like, wow.
I can't believe it.
And they didn't lie. They actually didn't lie. But I'm still like, dang. I'm like.
But if they would have stayed quiet, they couldn't have done
No, they couldn't have
prove
we
anything.
ditched the gun and everything and all that, you know what I'm saying? But stupid criminals. Anyway, now I'm in the cell and it's like, man, them charges on you. And then I keep seeing this vision of my child coming to visit me in jail, but then having to leave and the child's crying. And I'm like, I ruined my life. Like, what have I done?
Yeah.
That weight hits you. Like,
Yeah.
man, the emptiness, the hopelessness. I was in there with boys, man. This was in Monroe County Jail, so I was in downtown Rochester. Man, boys was like about to do 25, 20, robbing banks. Somebody tried to kill one dude, wrestled him. While he was running, he picked up the gun, shot the dude, back of his head, killed him. But since he was running away, they gave him the capital charge.
Yeah.
And then I'm in there and we all, it's like, just the weight of it, all of it. And
how old were you again?
I was 18.
18.
Wow.
So the voice comes back and says, I told you he was going to get caught.
Got him.
The Bible says. You thought you know. Oh, man. And I broke, man. And it was like the simplest prayer. I was like, listen. And at the time, on some for real, like, Jesus wasn't the only option to me. Like, you know, Nation of Islam brothers was real brothers, and they was, you know what I mean, family. And then I'm in college, and it's, you know, psychology. I'm just considering everything at the time. Yeah. But I remember my dad's Jesus. And see, that's the importance of, like, you know, just being who you are and being that example. You know what I mean? So my daddy just was a great example. So anyway, I remember my dad's Jesus, and I was like, listen, Jesus, if you real, look on me. I will never go back to the streets. On me if you get me out of this. Like, I promise. And I heard the voice say, all right, don't worry about nothing. I take care of everything. Just like that. That's simple. Now that sounds, you know, but there was an 11-month process going back and forth to court, and you know what I mean. One time,
you got off then. So you said you got hit with a youth offender.
The YO in the end of the day.
Wow.
And
oh man, you got lucky. You got lucky, bro.
But I truly believe, you know, God knew that I would be here. I actually meant what I said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I would do that, and that I wouldn't be ashamed of that part of my history, even though I was doing shameful things. But it brought me to the end of myself to make the decision to really, really try to live it. You know?
Yeah.
I think that's an amazing testimony, though, because despite everything that you've been through, going through, the criminal justice system at a young age, and completely turning your life around.
Yeah.
Those stories to me resonate a lot more with people. Like people that's in similar situations, they might be in the streets, they might be, drugs or whatever, and oftentimes they get people talking to them. It's like people talking at them and not talking to them, right? And because they don't hear it, because like it's hard for them to, to relate to someone who hasn't been through it, right? And that's why, like, even when, as I'm coming up and, I've been through a lot myself, that's a whole nother podcast, but actually, I think that was episode 5. So if y'all want to check that out, make sure y'all do.
I watched some of that today.
Make sure y'all do. But it really took for me to be like, you know what? I've been through some stuff. I know I have a story to tell, and I know I can help some people with this story.
Yeah, it's good.
Right? And I think, again, I never wish for that for anybody to go through anything like that. But the fact that you do, like the fact that I grew up, that guy in the hood, poor, super poor, and it really built me to go through some things. And like when I'm going through things now,
Right.
I know how to really go through some things, right? So I love like this kind of like the transition. So so at that point, did you ever backtrack?
Not with the streets.
Okay.
I never went back to the streets.
Okay.
And that was I knew that would lead to death and destruction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's other things over the years that a little harder to deal with, you know what I mean? Like just lifestyle stuff. But like as far as street life, I was like, nah, this ain't it. Dead or in jail.
Yeah.
Period.
Word.
Period. Period. That's it.
With the T at the end.
Like it's just you see it, you living in it. Like again, the hopelessness of that situation. Because I might have heard this voice, but I was still in jail for like a month. And I'm in Rochester, and they didn't like Buffalo boys.
Yeah.
So it's like the fear. I don't know. My lawyer's telling me one thing. My dad was mad chill. He's like, oh, okay, I see you done came around. But everybody else was tripping. Baby mama tripping, my mama tripping. My brother, he's a lieutenant. He tripping. Everybody, You're like, it was heavy, but came through it, man. Came through it.
That's what's up.
So the one thing about DaMar, I want you to talk a little bit leading up until when you met Carissa, so that we can get into Carissa's story. So just lead up into when you found this.
Oh Lord.
So when I got out, I went to ECC, and I started training because I played football, and I went to play wide receiver at ECC. So we were pretty good at the time. Actually, that year we won a bowl game, and she was the
VP of student government,
vice president of student government, and so.
Here we go.
You know it's coming.
That's why I was like, oh Lord.
So at the time, my child's mother and I, it just didn't work. Like we tried, we really tried. I didn't want to have children in multiple relationships. I never wanted that. But it just didn't work. So in that process, I just remember the first day I saw her, right? So I was in, again, as a football team, ECC, we were pretty powerhousey, and we had kids from Jersey, from Florida, like everywhere. It was a bunch of D1 dudes who didn't have the grades. And so, and so we all, we talking stuff. So I remember the first time I saw her, she was walking by. I remember you had the Timbs on with the blue jeans.
Okay, blue jeans and Timbs. Come on.
And she had the ponytail. I was like, ooh. Who is that? I was like, is she black? Is she half black or something? I don't know what she is. And then I was talking, somebody told me, he's like, she Puerto Rican. Well, she part Puerto Rican. He was like, she feisty, man. You gotta be careful. So we met that's how we met. We met at ECC. And we both, so I was coming out of a relationship with my child's mother. Mm-hmm. She was kind of in a relationship.
In and out of a relationship. Yeah.
So we kind of started there.
Yeah, we did a lot with the football team. So, and he was probably the only one I never cussed out. Really, ain't that something?
Out of the whole football team,
legit.
Wait, why'd you cuss him out? They was all trying to get at you.
Yeah.
So?
Oh yeah, all the time. It was
okay.
annoying, and or they were just whatever. It doesn't even matter. But yes, he was probably about the only one that I did not cuss out.
I gotta be smooth with it.
Yeah.
Tell him how back you want to talk.
What?
We're how back.
How you back?
Definitely not. Definitely bagged you.
Oh.
Don't get it twisted. I'm not the one to be bagged. You know, I definitely bagged.
He's like, I ain't the one to be back. I does the back.
It was a double bagging job.
It
Definitely was.
Yeah.
Okay, Carissa, so go into some of your backstory, your family dynamics, and leading up into when you met them.
Yeah, my life was very much so opposite of DaMar's. I grew up in Lackawanna. My parents are both from Lackawanna. They grew up in Lackawanna. They met in high school. They're high school sweethearts. They had me in high school. So they're very young parents. And
still together today.
Still together today. Very much in love. They've been together 38 years.
Jeez.
They've been married. It's going to be
Goals.
33
They are the
years.
cutest
Yeah.
thing, too. Oh my God.
We're actually talking about doing their wedding anniversary renewal this year. So
that's what's up. That's awesome.
yeah.
Okay.
So I had both my parents in my life, my whole life. And so very hardworking parents. Obviously, they were young parents, so we were very poor growing up. But I never knew it.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew we were poor, you know. Had everything I needed. My parents hardworking. My father still to this day has 2 jobs. And for what? Like, none of us live at home. Why do you still have 2 jobs?
He just love to work.
He does.
Man.
He
He
does.
fix anything. He's a typical Puerto
Yeah,
Rican
for
boy.
real.
I didn't want to sound stereotypical, but I'm just like, is he the Puerto Rican one?
Yes.
The plum job,
Yes.
the drywall.
Listen, you need to build a house. You
From
need to
the
build a
start.
house. Like, yes.
He's a man.
Yes. About the only thing he can't do is fix cars. But everything else, listen, he can do it.
Yeah.
He can do it. So definitely daddy's girl for sure. But I grew up in a very strict household. Like I said, my father's Puerto Rican, my mother's Italian. Very strict household. Couldn't do much. Couldn't, go people sleep over houses, stuff like that. It was very sheltered. I lived a very sheltered life. But it was still very full. I grew up with like 27 first cousins.
I know, I love
and we
that.
grew up like brothers and sisters. We're together all the time. So, I don't really know what else to say other than I had a legit good childhood. I did.
How was high school for you? And friends and everything like that? How was that?
So high school was interesting. I don't know. Like high school was, I grew up with all those people because we lived in Lackawanna. So if you lived in Lackawanna, you went to pre-K with the same.
So you knew everybody.
Oh yeah, like growing up, and our parents knew their parents because they all went to Lackawanna, and so. I mean, it was still interesting, though. I mean, I didn't have very many friends. I really didn't like girls. They're very catty to me.
You one of those.
Yes, I had a lot of guy friends. Lots of guy friends.
Oh, you one of those.
Yes. That's one of those.
What's one
Very
of those?
rough around the edges.
No, because them girls was like, I don't get down with girls. I'm just
Yes,
like,
I
I
was
got
one of
mad
those.
guys as friends though. Like,
Yes.
I mean, it's not a judgment thing. It's just,
Yes, I
it's
didn't.
one of those.
Yes, yes. Not that I didn't.
Not in a bad way.
I just didn't have close female friends.
Right.
So it's not that I hated girls. It was just like, I had acquaintances. Like I was a cheerleader, so obviously, like you got to get along with people to be on a team with them. So I was a team player, but I didn't have a lot of close female friends. Being mixed, I always didn't quite know like where I fit into, and that probably played a lot into why I had a lot of guy friends. I wasn't like quite Puerto Rican enough, but I wasn't quite white enough either. So it was like I had trouble trying to find where I fit. And so, but other than that, I mean, high school years were good, So, but
And then comes...
and then college, then college. Like I was the first one. Like my parents didn't. Like they graduated high school. My dad graduated high school through summer school, and my mom got her GED. So I was the first one to like graduate high school, walk across the stage. I was the first one. First one to go to college. First one to graduate. with a degree in
Come
college.
on.
And
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah, you know, I guess I did accomplish quite a few things.
Of
you know,
course,
so yeah, but college, I met DaMar at ECC. I switched my major 1,000 times when I was there.
Shout out to those people who switched their major 1,000 times.
Same here. 6 times.
That was it. I think I did 4.
Yeah, bro.
Like, yes.
I think I did 4 or 5.
Yeah, you know, I want to be something new every day. You know, it's whatever. But yeah, I think in college, for me, I really just I wanted to have a good time because I was so sheltered in life. When I got to college, it was like all about the party. Like even though I went to ECC, I was like at all the UB college parties, the Buff State college parties. I was very much in the Latino crowd, so like all the Latino frats, I was at their parties every weekend. And then I started flunking out of school, and I was like, oh, okay, you know, you get that letter in the mail, like, yo.
Shout out to people who got the letter in the mail too.
Same here.
I tell you.
Yeah.
Never have to do a game, never have an ever.
I would be so done. If it was a drinking game, I'll have like poisoning or something.
We don't play a game. I'll tell you that. We gonna get some stuff out of you.
I've been through some stuff, man.
Yes. So in college, I started dating this guy. He was a football player, very driven guy, but he was very much so very insecure. It was kind of a very toxic relationship. Like I couldn't talk to guys, and I had a lot of guy friends.
Right.
Oh, he's one of those.
Yes.
He's one of those.
So yes. So if somebody would look at me, he would go crazy. So it was to the point where like if I knew he was coming around, I'd be like, yo, y'all gotta go. You know, like trying to help them because he would be psycho. And so he wound up moving to Florida for school, and the plan was to move to Florida with him. For me to move to Florida with him. But I still had a whole other year to finish before I headed down there. Anyway, whatever. This is 19-year-old Carissa. So I'm thinking I'm gonna marry this guy. I'm gonna go to Florida. We're gonna spend the rest of our lives together. Well, obviously that didn't happen, and I wound up getting my heart broke. And from that point on, it was like a switch just went off where like, you know what? I'm just gonna do me. Like I'm gonna go to these parties. I'm gonna bag every dude I want. Like any dude that's into it and I'm into him, he's mine. And like legit, it was like this crazy switch that went from like a respectful young woman to like, I'm just gonna trash all these dudes, but not even realizing that I'm actually trashing myself, you know? And so I went on, it wasn't a very long period, but it seemed like forever then, to where now I'm starting to drink heavily. I mean, every day, I'm like a closet alcoholic, and like nobody knew, where I wake up drinking all the way up until I go to sleep. The only day I did not drink was Sunday, which is the weirdest thing.
Oh, because you grew up Catholic.
I did grow up Catholic. Yes, I did. But like my parents were not church goers. Okay. So I grew up going to church, but it was only because my godparents took me to church every Sunday. My parents never went to church. They maybe went to church on Christmas. Maybe. Okay. So, but anyway, once I graduated high school, I didn't go to church no more. It was college, like, so like God's now out of my life. He's kind of, well, I shouldn't say out of my life, but he's like here instead of here. And so closet alcoholic, any dude I want, I get, but yet trying to fill this gap, this void in my life, trying to fill this pain that I'm feeling, any chance I can get, but yet at the end of the night, feeling so lonely and so empty. And then DaMar comes into my life. Fast forward to DaMar coming into my life. He comes into my office because I'm VP of student government. He comes into my office and he was like, yo, what's up, baby blue? Because he called me baby blue because of my eyes.
Got me. Mesmerized. Like, wow.
And I was like, yes. And he's like, I think we should go on a date. And I was like, oh boy, okay. So we went on a date. And then we had the best time. Like we laughed, we went to Dave & Buster's, and I don't think it was Dave & Buster's then, but that night he told me that he wanted to like really see where this had went, but I knew he was leaving to go to Florida.
Oh boy.
And I was like, and no, that's not gonna happen. And plus I was still hung up on the dude. And I was like, listen, for real, like if he was to call me today, I would get back with him. Like that's just where I was at.
I respect that.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling.
And so fast forward a year later, I'm on a date with somebody, he's on a date with somebody, and we're messaging each other on Facebook. We're separately on dates.
Right, but y'all didn't stay in contact that whole year?
The whole time.
Actually stopped.
The whole time. And I made a post on Facebook, which then he responded. So now we're messaging each other, and we decided to go on a date again.
While y'all were on dates.
While we're on dates. While we're on dates.
Savages.
Yes,
They're like, these dates are over.
Terrible.
Be only.
It is what it is, you know.
Terrible. And so we wound up going to the movies. And that night, I take him home, and we had a near-death experience. Like, no joke. Near-death experience where it's snowing outside, and I parked my car on the wrong side of the street, but I'm facing with my lights on in the way in which a car would come. They could see me, okay? So now this big, I don't know if it was an Escalade or a Denali or whatever, but this big truck comes speeding down the road. It's snowing. It's snow on the ground. And I'm like, ooh, they're not stopping. And I'm like, oh my God, they're getting closer. When I say I saw my life, I just knew I was about to die. Like I knew it was over. And I started screaming at the top of my lungs, closed my eyes. When I opened them, the car wound up missing my car, no joke, by this much. Hits the cars behind us. And I'm like holding my steering wheel, breathing. I look at them, I was like, oh my God, we almost died. And he was like, nah. He was sitting there calm as day. No, I can't die.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like,
That boy got
what?
favor.
Look at that.
He was like, I can't
He's like,
die.
do you know who you're with right now?
Yes. And he was like, this is why. And he starts like telling me the story, the story he just shared. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And I had this thought of like, I don't even know what that means, but I probably should hang out with this dude more.
Yeah.
So that's like it.
We
like from that point
been
on,
together
we've been on.
day
Yep.
Since then.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Every single day.
That
was a long time ago.
Yeah. 7 months
crazy.
later, we were engaged. 5 months later, we were married.
Look at that. I love that. Like y'all both.
That was
knew.
it.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
It was good.
There's so much more in between
So-
that,
Of
but
course, yeah.
but
So
yes.
it took
Yes.
for the dates to be whacked. Did y'all
Like,
I'm
yo.
so hung up on that. They were legit texting each other. Like, them dates must have been trash.
Hey, it is what it is. It is what it is.
So
You're a little embarrassed.
She was terrible. Text Carissa, you know. What you doing? So so y'all were married thereafter, and like you said, you've been together
Ever since.
every day since then. You know, y'all have a beautiful family together, 4 kids.
Yes.
So like, just talk a little bit. Just not go into too much detail because I really want to get into just how you guys do business together. But before we get into that, just kind of talk a little bit about just the dynamic of the marriage. Like, how has it been? Some of the challenges, ups and downs, and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I know initially, I never saw an example of a healthy marriage in my life, and she did. She grew up in it. And her family was surrounded in it too. I know people who were married, but it just didn't end well. There was always some issues and drama with it. So for me, marriage looked differently than it did for her. And so that initial, we had initial conflict initially. I mean, we were very much in love, but I know me personally, it was hard. It was hard to become one, as much as I wanted to, but I didn't feel like I had the tools to do it, and then we got introduced to, shout out DaMar Johnson, Leslie Johnson.
Hey, Papa D.
Yes. They saved us.
For real. black man, black woman, black kids, doing well, business owners, teacher, kids in their right mind, homeowners.
Yeah.
I mean, all the above, and just living it out. And so when we connected with them, we were in a tough spot. You know what I mean? It was mostly me too, by the way.
You said it.
Oh man. So when we connected with them, just seeing the way they did everything, like conflict, how they raised their kids, how they went to church, they like all just the little like the smaller details that I just, it was great to see with my own eyes. And so that really helped me in that time frame to like learn and ask questions and like, you know, what does it mean to be a husband? And, you know, because I mean, again, I love God, and I would pray like, Lord, help. But what he helped was by sending somebody.
That's
you know
good.
what I'm saying? And, you know, so for those first couple of years with Lil Rocket, it almost ended.
Yeah, it did.
Almost ended.
1,000%, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what I just got myself into.
Let me reiterate that part.
Yeah, it was hard. You know, I had an expectation because I seen how in love my parents were.
around.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had such an expectation for what my marriage should look like. And he just could not meet that expectation. And so we butt heads a lot. And even in parenting, same thing. Like we really had to give each other grace and the space to grow and really learn how to meet each other in the middle.
Right.
Now, as husband and wife and as mother and father, as a team doing it together, you know.
And then that kind of like living life going forward, and then business starts coming in. And initially, you know, I was just felt like, man, there's more. You know, I was teaching at the time at a boarding school. I love what I was doing, but you know, just that feeling like there's more. Yep. You know what I mean? And I kind of was feeling like I would have settled by staying there, like I was settling. You know, and you know, being raised where it's like hardworking parents is like, man, you got good jobs and benefits. You better sit your tail down.
You got retirement.
You know, so with all of that though, we were very like I think one of the keys for us is being prayerful together. Yeah, and having peace together. Yeah. So if there's no peace on it, as strongly as well, we learned this over time, but much like, you know, halfway through, kind of became evident like we probably should be in agreement instead of just trying to do something. Okay. So that really helped. As
simple as it sounds, as much sense as it makes.
Right. Yeah. Right. And so, you know, there were gifts and talents that she had, I had. And as we started even the thought of business, we were really trying to piece that together. Like, what does that look like? How can we serve? And like, that was our first thought too. Like, for anybody in business, who are you serving? Yeah. Yeah. Like, it is not about you getting your, like if as far as longevity is concerned. Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are serving someone else. So like with the intention of, you know, things being successful, longevity, a client that will come back to you, just likes you, loyalty, the servant mindset. So we really sat down for a couple years, really, and like would throw ideas back and forth and disagree, and kind of just settled on, okay, let's help people become their best selves. That was like the basic premise. Whatever they may be doing, you know, Carissa's background is heavily in ministry. I mean, I am too. Led worship for a very long time, and work with young adults and things of that nature. But Carissa's very in with mental health and emotional health, and from a Jesus perspective too. Like, because he does care about that. By the way, not just, you know, get saved, but it's like, all right, you saved, but are you happy? You know what I mean? Like, do you love you?
Are you okay? Like you were saying, ask your friends. Are you really okay?
Right. And so that was kind of a beginning journey. And that was probably like 2016 to 2019 was like the development of something. I remember meeting with you, hitting you up like, bro, I've been working on this business.
I remember that. Yeah.
This joint over.
Yeah, absolutely. Dreamers.
Yep.
Dreamers.
That was the beginning.
That was the beginning. We wound up not being able to get that name.
You know the crazy thing? I got a guy. That's off topic. Yeah, who has that name too?
Oh, bro.
Yeah, and he's local.
It was you. It was you.
I know who has that name.
But yeah, that was like the starting journey for us. But at the same time, we raising kids, you know, and again, we heavily involved in church, heavily involved in family. I mean, it was so much going on.
Yeah.
But we were intentional about making space for it, you know.
Yeah. So, Carissa, what got you guys into the DEI space?
I think just that. Our heart is to really develop people, and once we started building a curriculum, we were taking a holistic approach originally. So mental, physical, leadership. It was just like all encompassing. And then 2020 hit, and George Floyd happened, and what was already real became oh so real. And we had a gentleman friend whom we asked to take a look at our curriculum, and we had been in conversation with this man. It's a white man, older white man, and we had already been in conversation, having deep conversations about what was being seen, about the realities of the lives of Black and brown people, having hard conversations, to that would help him, his wife, his children take a step back and take a good look at themselves, and search themselves, and realize like, ooh, you know what? There is something there.
Right.
There's something there that I didn't know was there. Yeah. And then us also realizing that we were having many conversations like that. We go to a predominantly white church, and we were having really deep and hard conversations with these people. Like, this is not a joke. This isn't just something that just happened. That just happened all of a sudden. Like, this is stuff that happens all the time.
Right.
All the time. And the realities that you have are not the same realities that we have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's not the same realities that our children have.
Right.
And you know, it's not our job to fix it. It's not our job to make it better. It's actually your responsibility as people, as humanity, to make sure you're doing your job as a human of society, doing your part as a human in this society, whether it's raising your kids, being leaders in the church, going to your job, whether it's in your circle of friends, making sure that you're saying the right things, you're doing the right things, making sure that you are continuously in relationship with people who don't look like you, in conversation with people who don't look like you, making sure that you have a full understanding. You know, get yourself acclimated to the things that aren't normally in your circle. It's your job, not our job. And as we were having those conversations, like I said, this gentleman who we grew very close to, we asked him to take a look at our curriculum, because he had, he was in like the HR realm. And we're like, all right, he has a lot of, you know, expertise in this area. And so he looked at it and he was like, you know what? We're looking for stuff for my company right now. Would you be willing to do what you're doing here, take the Christianese out of it, and set it up so that I can implement this into, you know, my company and our trainings? And we're like, yes.
Say that.
Yes. You'll pay us? Yes. And so what was already a burning passion inside of us, it was like God opened up a door for us to do it.
Gifts made room.
And he put the people people who are not of color in our lives to really sow into that seed. So that was really beautiful how it just blossomed. And so,
And now Equip Training is here.
Yes, now it's here.
That's the name of the company, Equip Training?
Equip Trainings.
Okay.
Equipped, yeah.
When you were sharing, I was thinking like, we actually lived out the diversity. We lived it, and being in a relationship with many, many white evangelicals.
Yes.
Many.
Yes.
And being as stern as we are with M&T Bank or Riches as we are with them, like, listen, I hear you. And for me, I remember this one moment, this was like 2015, because like we really felt like God was telling us to go to these predominantly white churches.
True. Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I am not above that. I need some hooping. You know what I mean? Like, why?
I like the black church, boy.
Man, I just
better than me.
Born and raised in it. Down the street, shout out Mo Badger. First man I ever saw that worshiped God, and like, man, I just couldn't understand it. Like, black man singing to Jesus, like, you really mean that? Like, I would just stare at him. I wouldn't even be singing. I would just be like, this dude really like singing though. But anyway,
Mo,
like,
you gotta stare down. Shout out to Mo. Shout out to my guy Mo.
So bad.
Get you.
Oh man, but like, just loved the experience, but we really felt like God lead us over there. And I remember this one time I was just like, yo, why? Like, why are you sitting this in here? And it was just like a very clear in my spirit. I need y'all to be a bridge.
Yeah. So being that bridge, I know that you guys have to have difficult conversations.
Absolutely.
And I guess the fortunate thing for us is that we don't always have to have the conversations. Right. We can direct people, hey, you can Google it, you can read about it. But for y'all always have to talk about it. Y'all in rooms. What are some conversations that have come up with you teaching what you teach, that you felt like you kind of sense a tension or some sort of disagreement in a room about that they don't really understand when it comes to our culture and, our reality?
Yeah, I'll say for me, just the acceptance that you, just because you think something doesn't mean that it's right, or that you have been thinking a certain way for a long period of time. That does not mean that is right.
Yeah.
And people can be stuck in their ways, and, those conversations get difficult. But for us, our approach is really always from the beginning, like, listen, let's just consider humanity. Like, 200 years ago, it was pretty bad. Right. It was pretty bad. Now, it's been lots of advancements, technological, less war, less racism, less all the isms, less poverty, people making more money, people of color in this way. Now, that doesn't mean that these issues aren't still extremely prevalent, but we do need to consider that there has been a gradual lift, and it's because people are intentionally having conversations, trying to bring the solutions that they think may work, that may fail, but we try something else. But it's like the effort. So it's like, you can't, like, what we don't like is to check the box, like, let's do this diversity training, and then we did it.
We won't work with you.
No, we stopped doing that.
Yeah, we not doing that.
No. We need to, we got this training, then we need to have another one, and then we need to have like 6 months of coaching, one-on-one with your leaders.
That's good.
Because they're the decision makers.
Right.
And if they get it and they buy in, then they can implement, and we can go to the next level.
Yeah, ultimately it's shifting culture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if the top ain't with shifting the culture, it's not gonna happen.
Right.
That's what it's all. You have to be able to shift the culture, because the point that you just made about them just checking the box, sometimes there's an incentive behind them just being able to check the box as well.
True.
1,000%.
So they have no intention or no real desire to make any real sustainable change.
Right.
It's just like there's some type of something that's attached to this. It's like, okay, if we were able to just check this box just to say that we did it,
right,
then, we can be whatever,
right.
So that's why I really appreciate, the work that you guys do, because like I said, it can't be me, man. No, and I say that because I'm just in a space And God is working on me too. But I'm just in this space where I just don't feel like that. Oppressed people who have been historically oppressed and traumatized should be in a position to have to teach white people not to be racist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I think white people need to be having more conversations amongst white people,
right.
About, how they could, really make some sustainable changes out here, right? Because just, saying that you can check the box, you got the one little black friend who was able to come in and teach you and they can recommend some how not to be racist or whatever books to you. Like, okay, that's cool, but it's just like, when you have people that's in leadership positions and powerful positions who are very intentional, like you said, that key word is intentional, right? About shifting that culture.
Yes.
Then some real change is going to happen.
Yes.
But when you have people who are just like, they have no desire, and it's just like they kind of when a moment happens, when a George Floyd happens, when a May 14th happens, everyone's ready to rally around an issue, but those moments are going to die at some point, right? So what happens when the moment dies, right? Are you still in it? In the long haul with us,
right?
So that's why, like with me, I kind of take things with a grain of salt with some folks because you just don't know sometimes, what their real intentions are.
Well, you say you take it with a grain of salt, but I remember a couple of years ago, DaMar had a post, and you saw how people were. When I say this, man, yes, post, when Jamil saw some of those people on your post, Jamil was the first one. Yo, y'all see what they say to DaMar? Yo, we on that joint.
I don't play that.
Jamil
you know what I'm saying? I don't play that.
Everybody.
When it comes to my folks, my people,
I know.
Whether we're friends, whether it's just people that look like me, I'm riding for you. You know what I mean? And especially against this ignorance that's out here. You know what I mean? Like my clapback the clapback season was real at that time, so.
No, that's real. And we, really appreciate that because it is, because we are in the trenches.
Right.
We're working with people who are going to hire people of color, who are looking at how they're going to divvy out millions and billions of dollars to people of color. We are trying to get them to really look at their strategies for something that's sustainable for 10 years to come so that it really comes in and that there's actual change. And when you said something that I was at this same mindset at one point, and then I'm gonna quote a scripture. I'm gonna quote the word of God. The Bible says. It says, "Great peace have them that love your word, and nothing will offend them." Woo! That thing hit. If I'm offended, so I can't afford to be offended in Dunkirk City School District,
right?
With predominantly people who don't understand. They don't understand. So I'm gonna hear some stuff,
right?
And I'm gonna, it's gonna come in, but I know it's a spirit behind them. It's not the people. We fight them not against flesh and blood.
Right.
It's not the humans. There's a spirit that's driving it. A spirit of this age that is designed to destroy, to keep people impoverished, to keep them. I mean, we talk about, race all the time, but it's poverty.
Yeah.
White folks is poor. Native Americans are poor. People, people of color. It's so much more than the race issue. It's being highlighted, and rightfully so in this moment, but it is an all-encompassing thing. And our mindset when we go in there's going to be some stuff, but I can't afford to be offended, because if I do, then I am actually hindering the progress that I actually want to happen. Because now I'm going to respond to them from a place of anger or fear, and it's not rooted in love. And ain't nothing going to change if it's not rooted in love.
I agree.
I'm a work in progress.
I know.
I'm a work in progress.
Well, I know that we have to wrap up. We may have to bring them back to talk about
no, we
this.
definitely.
This subject is good.
Yeah, before we do.
We have to wrap up.
Before we do, the one thing that I want y'all to touch on just briefly, the fact that you guys are doing this together as a unit, right? I know I joked, and I joke all the time. Everybody knows how much I love my wife.
You say you can't work with her.
And I say I can't. I think think I'm gonna try it. You know, I think going into 2023, we gonna work on something. We gonna try something.
Surprise you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
How do y'all make that work?
I'll go first, then you go.
Okay.
For me, I believed every single married couple, if two are becoming one and you're an entrepreneur, there's something. You just might not have found it yet, right? So, like, again, we got different strengths. We did the disc test.
Yeah.
I am DI 90%.
Oh, she's the other one.
Completely different. So, but we can focus on those differences, or we can let's focus see how or what, and that may look like we flipped our first house recently, and I ain't fix it. But Puerto Rican daddy and her, I ain't got no shame.
Yeah, daddy make a good team, boy.
Miss Fix It. I call it Miss Fix It. I'm like, something in the house, I'm like, hey, you see that Miss Fix It? You can have that. You know what I mean? But like, just, I'm being facetious. But at the same time, it's like, I truly believe that there's something that we should be doing together to monetize and to build wealth. It's something. Now, again, she has a completely different profession, actually, in a way. Like, she's really devoted to the church in a lot of ways, even though we co-partner with it. And I'm really focused a little bit more on business stuff right now. So we do different stuff, right? But then there is coming together in certain areas too. So I think that it is imperative that we do that because for one, the example we set for our children, building wealth, the mindset of doing things together. And honestly, conflict is the best thing. We need it. That's the main conversation we have in this DEI space. You have to have conflict. Iron sharper irons. That is two hard objects hitting each other, sharpening each other. Yeah. Like we have to be able to do healthy conflict, disagree, come to resolutions.
I think it strengthened us for sure. I think we've gotten to know each other on a different level.
That's a fact.
I gotten to know myself on a different level too. And to where I never thought I can work with him because he is a completely different individual than I am.
We definitely say it all.
Yeah. And I don't function the way he functions. I function very differently. But I see how working together has not just honored, but has heightened those very things within us. And it's just amazing how they're just, once was like, but now it's like, it's just like, So where now we have learned to peacefully, walk together in it.
That's good. So before we wrap this one up, we will definitely have to have you guys back. But before we wrap it up, where can they find you and your trainings? And if there's a company, organization, person who wants to come in and,
because you said you guys make the stuff that you create is duplicatable, right? So you can sell that stuff to different companies and things like that, right?
So equiptrainings.com.
That's trainings with an S.
With an S. Okay. Yeah, we have online content, that is, like you said, transferable, different courses and stuff that we created from the ground up. We made the courses. We hire all local actors. We did it across the street at the Apollo in the nice part of the studio.
Shout out to Apollo. That's my old studio.
And also, obviously, just the consulting, the in-person. Most of the last stuff we're doing is we are intentional about trying to make it multi-year plans or at least half a year to get that real,
absolutely.
That relationship.
Real impact that way. Yeah.
Sure.
That's super dope.
Thanks so much, Dowell.
We appreciate y'all. We definitely got to have y'all back on the pod.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of We Are the Ones podcast. Make sure you follow us on all of the major streaming platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, on Audible. Hit us up on YouTube. Make sure you follow us. Leave those comments. We are reading your comments. Thank you. Yes, man. Those comments I love. It just means the world to us to show that you guys are as engaged as you guys are. So again, follow us on social media, on Instagram at We Are the Ones Podcast, and also on Facebook as well at We Are the Ones Podcast.
And remember, keep winning on purpose because you are the one we've been waiting for. Thanks for checking out another episode of We Are the Ones podcast.
Make sure you subscribe and listen to our podcast on any of your favorite streaming platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and even on Audible.
And then make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram at We Are the Ones podcast. And make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share. Because remember, you are not just the one. we are the ones